Tonight's bold question: whose voice is screaming in the background of the 911 call to police? The screaming which ended when George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin. Today in court, an important hearing regarding expert testimony about whose voice is heard screaming on that call. Also, the start of week 2 of jury selection for the jury of 6 who will ultimately answer that question inside a courtroom in Seminole County, Florida, as the nation watches. Our in-studio experts tonight picking a jury for the prosecution: former prosecutor Holly Hughes. Picking a jury for the defense attorney Esther Panitch. And in town from the West Coast tonight, defense attorney Anita Kay. Let's talk now about the 911 call. All my experts, I want one word to describe those screams that we hear in the background of that 911 call.
Desperate.
Okay, Esther Panitch here for the defense. What did you read that led you to strike a juror?
Well, there's one juror who knows way more than I do about this case, and I've studied it religiously. So this particular juror was very specific and detailed. She knew facts I didn't know. She was talking about what happened on Capitol Hill as it related to one of the protests and wearing the hoodie. And this particular juror knows everything about the Zimmerman family, just knows too much.
She knows too much. Who did you decide to strike?
Juror number 4.
Juror number 4. Struck because she knows too much. You got penalized for knowing too much. What do you think?
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
No,
that's not a bad thing. Yeah, they told us to kind of study up on the case, so I did that. I studied up on the case and did some research, and I found a lot of information out there.
She did a dissertation on this
case.
I
really did your research.
I'm used to
you
that.
Studied it, so you get the big red X.
Why, thank you.
There you go. Folks, 2 down, 4 to go. We're striking our own jury right here on After Dark. All right, Esther Panitch for the defense. What led you to strike one of our jurors?
This particular juror has already formed an opinion when she says that George Zimmerman, this would not have happened had George Zimmerman not been acting in a vigilante manner. So in representing the defense, I don't want someone who's already formed that strong of an opinion.
Who is that juror?
Dun, dun, dun. Juror number 11.
Juror number 11. These guys have some poker faces. I cannot tell who it is by looking at them. So juror number 11, you got some strong feelings. Are you surprised that you got pushed off of this jury?
No, I'm not surprised at all. And I do have some strong opinions, as juror number 5 has stated. I don't know exactly what happened. I feel like both of them, maybe at different points, were acting in self-defense. As a single woman living in a big city, if someone was following me, I kind of, if someone was walking too closely or was walking near me too long, I was taking notice and I was, paying attention to my surroundings, so I understand where Trayvon was coming from. But I also feel like this could have been avoided if Zimmerman had just listened to the 911 operator and not continued to follow him.
All right, and for that, the defense decided to strike you. We got 2 more to go. Esther Panitch for the defense. What do you have on one of our potentials?
In this case, as the defense, I don't want somebody who's going to put the defendant to a burden of proof that they should not have to reach. The burden of proof in this case and all cases rests solely on the state to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. So when this juror wrote, if the recorded call with the screaming could be proved to be Zimmerman's voice, then I would be more open to doubting my conclusion that Zimmerman was the physical attacker. It would require George Zimmerman to make proof, which is not the burden of the defendant.
Okay, so who is this potential juror?
Well, it looks like we got 3 X's in a row because it's juror number 12.
Juror number 12. Again with the poker face. I couldn't even point it out. Okay, so you know what? I mean, what you say makes sense, but they didn't like it. What do you think?
Right. Well, at this point, it seems to me that it's Trayvon's voice on the 911 call. And if there was some kind of expert who could prove that it was Zimmerman's, then I may be more open to switching my opinion.
So do you feel like you could have been fair and impartial here?
Definitely.
All right, so I don't know, defense. Maybe you struck somebody who should have been here. Wait, let's talk to Esther. Why can't they take Zimmerman back to the scene of the shooting and have him yell to compare it for the voice analysis?
All right, Esther, how about that?
Because you can't compel the defendant to testify against himself. That's the 5th Amendment. So the state cannot force the defendant to reenact his voice in front of the jury. What they can do is try to get a court order to do an exemplar, but not at the scene, and that would be outside the presence of the jury.
Bing, right at the buzzer. Good job, Esther.
So, Esther Panitch, I don't know if you wanted to strike this juror.
No, Esther did a great job because she struck the only two who said no, and she didn't want any no's on her. So the two that she struck, but the one in the middle, you know, she had to strike 3.
You can't be perfect.
Can't be perfect. But she was perfect in the fact that the only two who said no were struck by the defense, which tells us that lawyers, through voir dire, you guys figure things out, don't you? Huh, Esther?
What can I say?
Look at that. She gave herself a high five. Great job by her. Great job by all our attorneys, all our experts. Great job by our jurors as well. That is it for this edition of HLN After Dark. Thanks so much for watching.